I'm not exaggerating when I say Dogman might have one of the most tragic superhero origin stories I've ever seen in a movie, but here are my full spoiler-free thoughts on the best and worst parts of the movie. Let me just preface this first by saying I've never actually read a Dogman book in my life. Like, I was a Captain Underpants kid, but this was kind of just, I guess, after my time where I just missed them somehow. So this was really my introduction to the character of Dogman himself. The only thing I knew is that he was a half dog, half man. I was not expecting how he gets that way to be that tragic, so I'm gonna say that if you care about that as a spoiler. Yeah, I was not expecting this movie to literally just show you them putting on the head of a dog on a man's body. I thought there was some other explanation, but no, that's literally it. I would have been traumatized as a kid seeing this happen. Getting to the actual pros and cons of the film is that this was way funnier than I was expecting the movie to be. There's lots of really clever and witty jokes, lots of things that are literally like a split-second gag in the background that if you're not paying attention to, you will miss, but there's so much detail in the jokes written here. I feel like a lot of the jokes were honestly written for more of an older audience, like older teens and adults than kids. We're making Die Hard references and presidential pardon jokes in a Dogman movie, neither thing I was expecting to see, but I was honestly laughing a decent amount throughout this film. Police Chief was easily the funniest character in the entire movie. Pretty much every joke or gag, including his character, I was laughing at. They all landed for me. It's a great voice performance. This dude's always on 10, just overreacting to everything, but it was absolutely hilarious. And honestly, if the Police Chief has any similar style of humor in the Dogman books, it's probably going to convince me to actually check out the original books. And the voice acting as a whole was actually really solid in this entire movie. Like, Pete Davidson as Petey the cat, ironically enough, was really funny. I don't care for Pete Davidson's acting as much that he's done in some of his other live action roles, but I feel like this is kind of his calling. Me and like these goofy kind of cartoon villains, he was hilarious as this character. I also really gotta credit the animation of this. Dreamworks has been absolutely cooking lately. This looks incredible. Like, the animation and the art style itself are both great. And like I said, they really use a lot of the animation to tell jokes in itself. It's really creative. Now, I think the first like 30 minutes of this movie, honestly, were pretty close to perfect. Every single joke was landing. I was just so locked into everything happening. I was like, this is actually amazing, blowing my expectations out of the water. And the movie overall is very good, but I gotta be honest, the middle portion is a little brain rotty. What I mean by that is it kind of feels like, yeah, they only had maybe like 60 minutes of the story, but they're like, oh, we got to get to like an hour and a half to be like a full feature-length film that can release in theaters. So we feel like we're just stringing together a bunch of random scenes that are moving at like a million miles per minute, just trying to keep iPad kids' attention and the audience being like, please don't get bored with this movie. I'm gonna be honest, it kind of worked on me. I wasn't ever bored with this movie. It's kind of impossible to be because of the breakneck speed it's moving at in the middle, but it was kind of just very random and kind of took away from the great beginning, in my opinion. But overall, I think most of what this movie's trying to achieve, it really works. It tells you a story that has some very heartfelt moments, but it mainly focuses on the very clever writing and jokes, and that's really the strong suit of this movie. It makes it enjoyable for, I think, all ages to go into this, knowing stuff about Dogman or not, and you can still have an absolute blast. It gets a 7 out of 10 for me. Like I said, not perfect, but still a very enjoyable film. If you've seen the movie, let me know your rating for it in the comments below, and tap above me to check out a video where I go over movie sequels that I think are better than the original.